Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need.
What up, guys? We're here with the 6th episode of the Project Uproar podcast. Me, Igor, Ryan, and we got Matt Anthony, a special guest, talking about unconventional careers again and his own path.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. So what we're going to do, just like we did a couple episodes ago with AnimeUproar, we're just going to ask Matt some questions, hopefully have a great conversation. And the first one we're going to ask him, quite simply, Matt's an entrepreneur from Niagara Falls, Canada. We just want to know, what do you do, Matt?
Yeah. See, this is a really, I have an interesting way to say this. Normally when I meet people for the first time, I'm very aware of, people always say, what do you do? Mm-hmm. Whenever I meet someone for the first time, I always make it a habit of saying, what are you passionate about?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget. Someone told me. I forget who it was. Someone told me about that, but it's like it's such a common thing. It's like everyone meets people all the time, and they talk about small talk, and it's like oh well, what do you do? And then instead of opening the conversation, like going deep right away, it's like, what are you passionate about? Mm-hmm. Normally, most of the time, people are just kind of like left
or
field.
even when we think, what do we do? We automatically assume we're talking about a job, right?
Exactly.
Rather than what do we do? Oh, we build bikes.
Yeah.
We read books.
Exactly.
Yeah, we read books. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's always an economic component to it.
Exactly.
Capitalism, bro.
That's it, man. That's the name of the game of what we live in Western culture over here. Yeah. So that's a deep answer to start off. No, but what I do, so I own my own events and marketing agency. I brand it as a creative management company where I manage social media for various community platforms, businesses, events, and then I also create and develop different large scale and small scale events in the Niagara Falls and Toronto, and then hopefully soon to be Los Angeles area. So that's what I do as my actual job. I'm also a musician and magician, pretty well-versed entertainer, so to speak, and artist. So those are my two things that I just focus on, and I really don't do anything else. So that's what I do. I stick with my path, and that's it, man.
That makes sense, man, because a lot of people seem to be kind of juggling a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
I felt pressured sometimes to juggle a lot of stuff too. And
Yeah.
it's like, especially when you're running a brand, even just doing all the social media for one brand takes a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't definitely spread yourself out you can spread yourself out too thin. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding it's hard to balance all the stuff, and probably the best way is to not put all your eggs in one basket necessarily, but at least 2 or 3 and not go crazy.
Exactly. And man, that's one thing my entire life, as even before I took the leap and became a full-time business owner, I was always I always found it very difficult to stick to one thing. I always did multiple things at one time. Mm-hmm. And my problem, I always did too much and too much at a time. That's when it became too much. So one thing that I've tried to really work on is learning how to say no to a couple things. At the end of the day, time is the most valuable thing that we'll never get back. There's always opportunities to make money, but time is such a valuable currency. And it's the only currency that is irretraceable.
Yeah, we agree 100%. We just talked about time in one of the previous episodes and how you never know when you're gonna go. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
So you can plan ahead, save up all this money, but next thing you know, car accident, God forbid. But you know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
You don't know for sure. So yeah, definitely, whatever your process is, you want to be enjoying it now and not just kind of postponing living for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. There's one of my favorite books. One of my very first mentor worked very high up in the music industry and in the artist management field. And he told me, he's like, Matt, you got to read this book. He's like, it's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Mm-hmm. Are you guys familiar with it?
Yeah, I read it.
You read it?
Yeah.
Oh man, so good. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Matt, if you read this book and it doesn't change your life, you have permission to come back and punch me in the face. Nice. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, dude, that is okay, that's serious. And I was about 19 or so, around 19, 20 when I read the book, and, just talking when he literally talks about all the different facets when it comes to developing a business and a mindset, and knowing the concept of working smart as opposed to working hard, and knowing when to do both of them to focus on what it is you're really passionate about. Just totally blew my mind when it came to approaching how to do certain things in business and in the arts. It was unbelievable, man. So you read it too?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always open to book recommendations here.
Yeah.
Like that's a big
shout out,
passion.
recommend that.
That's a big passion of ours.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things to not misunderstand is he's not saying be lazy, right? The 4 hours is just like kind of something he picked for the title.
Yeah.
But it's really a way to kind of do more while spending less time that would have taken you like much longer before. So kind of building a system that's efficient.
Yeah.
So even if you work the same amount you're working now, you're going to get way more done.
Yeah.
So it
way
gives you
more
tools.
done, lead to way more results, which leads to getting more money, which leads to more freedom.
Exactly.
And it's
yes.
like, and that's a common misconception that was really, I think, overlooked. And that's something that I just, it resonated with me right away. I was like, wow, this guy figured it out. Or one way to figure it out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's many ways to figure it out as there are people in the world.
Yeah.
But for sure, I agree 100%. Money in and of itself, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about necessarily like money for money's sake, but I love the freedom that comes with it. right?
Absolutely.
And it's nice having these materialistic things like the laptop, the mics,
Yeah.
the camera. But ideally, I just want to be able to do what I can do every day or like what I want to do.
Yeah.
Rather than being forced to work a job, let's say, I don't want to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That's so true, man. And one of my favorite concepts in the book when it talks about the three types of currencies that exist, and it's time, money, and energy. And I forget how he went into detail about but he said when you're like the most happiest, when you feel you're like the most sufficient, is when all three of those currencies are aligned, where you're making the most amount of money, you have the most amount of energy, and you have the most amount of time. That's when you know that's a great path to stick to when it comes to doing something that you love to do and turning that into a business. Like the reason why when going back to like what do you do is when I create an event, say for example, like the Niagara Socials event, or it's like, okay, I want to create something that's going to bring people together, that's going to make a cultural and economic impact for creative people in our area. So it's like, wow, that idea just came to my head, and then it's like when you look back and see everything that's happening, it's like, this actually just developed in real life, and that's kind of like your holy fuck moment. Can I swear on here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll keep it very minimum, almost
like
obsolete.
we have shit in the beginning because we do a Fight Club thing.
Oh, cool.
Fuck it. We're doing it.
Okay, cool. We can bleep it out or whatever.
No, not even.
Cool. But it's one of those things where it's like, for me, that's what really rewards me. It's like, wow, something that I literally just thought of in my brain, I'm just seeing it actually in real life right now. And that's one of the reasons why I love to do what I do. And it's like, that's like a high for me, like a high on life kind of vibe.
No, I respect that, man, because a lot of people fantasize, but they don't actually get down and actually make that vision come true. Yeah, right?
Totally.
And sometimes it's postponing, and sometimes they think they can't. But what's to lose from trying? And you've proven.
Yeah, thanks, man. You too, man.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Absolutely,
thanks. Yeah. In a lot of ways that if you go for it, it can happen.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. It's crazy.
I also wanted to ask you. So you told us what you do now.
Yeah.
But you want to tell us a bit about kind of even your high school days, or what got you on this path rather than working in like an office job 9 to 5.
Okay. So let's start in high school. So in high school, probably around grade 11 is when I really became like super, super obsessed with music. Like to the point where I was playing travel baseball for probably from when the ages about like 12 to 14 at a very high level all across the States. And it was like practice every day, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, play 4 games on the weekend, practice during the week. And like pretty much my whole life was just baseball. We played baseball together. Remember that? Yes. We did. We played baseball together in high school. Shout out to Ryder Racine. High school baseball at we lost, eh? We lost. Like
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
You don't remember?
I don't even remember. I just remember I had one very serious injury in baseball.
Wait, what grade were you in then?
What grade?
When you played, yeah.
Oh, I don't even know. I remember, all I remember about baseball, I enjoyed it. I just had I almost lost my eye, actually.
Oh my God.
What?
Ryan was an athlete.
Oh my.
I was are you kidding? I played hockey, too.
Yeah, you did. I remember that. Yeah.
No, awesome.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Wow, it was trippy. But yeah, so it was just like baseball. And then just realizing like how much that took up all my time. It's like, wow, it's like, I love performing magic. I love being a musician. I love playing drums. It's like, I really need to make a decision. If I don't do it now, I'm going to regret it later. So pretty much made the decision just to say, screw baseball. I'm not going to do it like full time. I'm going to put all my focus, or my focus when I'm not like in high school, like in the classroom in high school, onto music. And grade 11 is probably the time where I started playing. Man, I played every single day for a minimum 2 to 3 hours every single day, like jazz band practice or school band practice right after school, and then I would go home and have band practice either at my place or a buddy's place or a studio. So I just became obsessed and I got hooked, and I think that's why I kind of excelled in skill wise, because I was super consistent. It was like I knew what my day was all throughout school. I pretty much took that same mentality that I was doing with baseball and did it to music. And I think having kind of like the interpersonal skills to kind of connect with people and to really communicate, that's when I started like, oh, so I'm going to be in a band. Well, how are people going to hear our music? Oh, we got to book shows. Oh, I can book shows. Or, hey, we're going to travel in this city and play this. Oh, I'll contact this person on Facebook and see if we want to play a show in their city and they want to play it, vice versa. So it was extremely DIY. And I think I learned a lot about communication and people skills from the music industry, and being a very, very DIY musician from high school until about first year university, which is when I first worked with a major label artist. Anyway, so afterwards, after practicing all throughout high school and learning how to like kind of be like the business person, booking all the shows, dealing with all the stuff with all the bands and whatnot, I feel like I had a knack for just like almost like being like an agent or a manager subconsciously, and I wasn't even aware of that I was doing that. I just did it because that's the only way that people would hear whatever band I was in at the time.
Okay.
And that kind of just translated into naturally what I do now, and because I've always done it like seriously since took it very seriously since I was 16. So that just kind of worked out like that. Undeveloped, unacknowledged, like I guess I just did it all subconsciously, that I didn't think anything of it. Like, oh, this could actually be a business. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. So it just evolved.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Rather than like something, oh, I want to do this. It just, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Let's monetize it.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't think anything. I really didn't think anything of it, and that was kind of it. And then afterwards, I went to Brock for business communications, not really knowing what to really pursue, to be honest. I just knew that whatever I wanted to pursue, I just wanted to be different than pretty much everyone, and not just for the sake about being different, but because I like to think that I can think of things in a very unique way, where someone might look at one thing and I can try and bring something different to the table based on just like the arts and culture experience that I have. And I remember it was the highest mark I ever got in my entire life. It was my second year at Brock, and it was a second year marketing class. And this professor he was kind of a hard ass, and like he's like if you don't pass this marketing class, this is kind of like the make or break. Like, you're probably not going to go into business or not going to pursue marketing, or you're going to go a different path. And his assignment was, these are the 4 rules of marketing, pretty much the 4 P's of marketing. And he's like, I want you to market yourself to me. That was it. No explanation, no criteria, no anything. Market yourself to me. And people were like, what the heck are we going to do? So what I decided to do was I made an interactive YouTube video and marketed myself as a magician. So I marketed my magic services, where I literally set up a camera right in front of me and I talked to the camera as if I was having a dialogue with someone on the other side. So I would say things out loud for them to reciprocate it back, and it was super interactive. And I remember when we got all the assignments back, I noticed that my tab from my YouTube video was up on the screen when I went to the class the next day to get, or not the next day, or a couple of weeks, to get everything back. And he's like, okay, this next person, this was by far the most creative. Sorry. I remember the weirdest part. So I uploaded it to YouTube. I found my professor's Twitter handle. And I said, I'm submitting my assignment. Check me out. I'm a magician. And then he's just like, he retweeted it and favorited it. And then when we went back to class and I saw that my video link was up there, he said, he's like, this next person went above and beyond. It was the most creative approach. And this next person got 125%.
What?
And I'm like, I called my mom. I was like, Ma, I got 125% on a university assignment.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I never got over 100%.
I mean, dude, half the time I barely got after 60 or 70%, man. And
that's amazing, man.
Dude, thanks, man. And I was like, wow. I'm like, So he played the video for the class, and people, I was like, oh, I kind of like sank like in my scene, like, oh, like, not that I was like, but I was like kind of nervous, second year still, kind of like don't really know everyone, so it was like kind of awkward a little bit, but people were really into it. I was like, all right, cool. Okay. So then I was known as like the magic guy in like the program, which was
there
cool.
are worse things to be known.
No, man, that's what I was known to in high school, as the music stuff. But like, yeah, man, it was really cool, and that was one of the moments where I was like, okay, you know what? I think I have a knack for this kind of marketing thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is cool, man. Like 125%.
Right?
That's impossible.
Yeah, I know.
You did the impossible, man. I love it.
Yeah.
No, I just want to, you've touched on being a musician and a magician.
Yeah.
These are kind of a lot of people would say two very diverse interests.
Yeah, very
especially relating to, being a business person. So I'm just wondering, are there similarities between being a magician, musician, and business person? Number one, you can answer that. As well, what kind of life lessons, if at all, have you gotten from pursuing magic and pursuing music? Like, have there been any things that you've learned that have applied to your own journey as a business person?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I would say if like...
I really like the baseball story. Like,
yeah,
you really, because have you seen the movie Whiplash?
Of course, man.
Yeah, so
love Whiplash.
I still need to watch it.
I know,
yeah.
yes.
You haven't seen it? Oh, dude, it's so good.
But but you just see like that movie's not just about music; it's about
dedication,
life, right?
Yeah,
dedication.
It's about life. Yeah.
And I mean, the baseball story drew me in, and so anyway, I mean, do you take anything beyond just music and magic when you're doing these things?
Absolutely, man. And so I've always kind of been doing. And I actually hit a kind of a brick wall, and this is something I really discussed with two of my mentors recently, where I kind of feel like I live 3 lives inside one person. I know it sounds kind of weird to say, but it's like, sometimes I'm like the super confident business person where it's like, I'm going to throw an event and, 500 people are going to come and it's going to be amazing and I'm going to make such a big difference and I'm fully confident. Then there's the other part where I'm doing magic at like a corporate winery for some sort of high-end dinner. And it's like, now I'm like the funny performer, kind of like catering to the audience and but still staying true to who I am. And then when I'm the musician, it's like, I need to be on stage and I'm going to play my heart out and I want people to feel my energy to what I feel. And I've learned so much in the arts as when it comes to dealing with people, where I don't think I ever would have learned anywhere else. And there was a point in time in my life when I first started my business. This was a really, really healthy exercise for me because I'm like, I do 3 things that I'm really passionate about, which is the creating the events and the marketing and the business, being a performer, being a magician, artist, kind of, so to speak, entertainer, and then a drummer, kind of just holding it down for the band and really, really being a very musical oriented individual. And I asked myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a business. What one thing am I going to pursue and just knock it out of the park? And I was feeling so torn, like so internally torn with myself, man. Like it was like, I don't know which one to do. I feel like I'd be happy doing all of them, but I know I have to pick one because right now we're in such a developmental state in our 20s to do this. It's like I can do all 3, but if I were to just put all my eggs and focus on one and kind of do the other 2 kind of here and there, I'm going to get to where I want to be a lot faster in terms of like life, where then I can revisit everything else as opposed to just doing everything all at the same time. Everything's going to excel all at the same time. So I asked myself this question. I literally made it was a healthy exercise that I did for myself, where I made a list. I made a list of the top 10 things I was the most passionate about, and I made a list of the top 10 things I thought I was the best at. And what I did is I literally cross-referenced those things. I locked myself up in one of the studios that I have access to for about 3 hours, and I'm just like, I was racking my brain, man, just like, and then it was like individual events, and it was like skill sets, then it was like different passions. I was really having a hard time with myself. And another exercise that I've learned, it was from this YouTube channel that I saw. But pretty much I asked probably about 6 or 7 people who are really, really close to me on a friend scale, a business scale, and an artist scale. And I just said, out of everything that I do, out of everything of who I am, what skill set do you think I am the best at? I asked like 7 people who I really value their opinion, and I'm like, is it music? Is it magic? Is it drum? Like, what do you?
That's hard, man.
What do you
I
think?
Respect that.
And man, I'm like, I need to be able to take this stuff. That's one thing that I've learned is like I can take a lot of stuff, and I'm very open for things. You know, I have a pretty thick skin when it comes to that. And all of them, man, all across the board said the exact same thing, and I had no idea what it was. They said, Matt, you're not even. We don't think you're the best drummer. We don't even think like you're the best like magician. You're a good businessman, but it's like at the end of the day, you are the best at talking to people. And I was like, wow. I'm like, really? I'm like, every single one of them said the exact same thing.
So we got the right guy on here.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the best at talking to people. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's just something that has just always been natural to me that I never thought to think twice about, you know, maybe pursuing it as an actual career. Like, how can just talking to someone make it like be a business? And
here's one example.
Yeah, literally, yes. Here is one example, man, and it's so fascinating to think about. And going back to all the life lessons, it's like, you know, learning how to take criticism is huge. You know, I remember I was in the studio and I had a relatively famous musician come up to me. He's like, you don't even know how to tune a drum and you're in like one of the most famous studios in Canada. Like what the fuck? You know, it's just like, are you serious? And I was 18 at the time, and I'm just like, oh my God, that could have either destroyed me or made me better. And it's like, it made me better. And just kind of trying to look at like the positive stuff when it comes to everything, and just knowing that everything is just situational. It's not long term. Half the stuff that's happened is not going to matter 3 months from now, a day from now, a week from now. It's just take it, absorb it, and grow. That's one thing that I like to learn. I really like to learn about, man, is like when people tell me about their ideas or religions or beliefs, I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't dismiss. I'm just open-minded. I'm open-minded because I feel like the more open I am, the more objective perspective I get on everything. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I really gathered from everything was just new perspectives on just life, from being a magician, a musician, and a businessman, all wrapped into one person. And at the end of the day, what am I at the end of the day? I'm just a creative entrepreneur. That's it. That's who I am. That's it, man.
I found it interesting because we've talked on this podcast about putting oneself through uncomfortable situations in order to grow.
Absolutely.
And like being a magician, being a musician, being a business person, you're really very much exposing yourself to like vulnerability, right? Like
huge.
Going into the studio and being criticized, why are you even here? You're not good enough.
Yeah.
And being able to carry on with that,
yeah.
right? That teaches you so much about life.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So, I mean, yeah, and there's actually we've been talking about books. There's one book I'm working my way through right now. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene, and in the book he talks about the importance of doing some sort of like apprentice work. It doesn't have to be an official apprentice, but like working under someone where you know you're going to set yourself up for failure. Doing something completely uncomfortable, like we're going into a studio and knowing that there's going to be professional musicians there. They may criticize you, but just doing it anyways and setting yourself up to not meet the bar. So many times we're like, we have to do things that we're comfortable in, right? But like, I think that's crucial for business, right?
Yeah.
That teaches you so much. Like you have to be willing to do things way outside your comfort zone in order to progress.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really like how you said the passing kind of nature of things. You're like, will I care about this in 3 months kind of thing? And in an Eckhart Tolle book a while ago was the first time I read like the "this too shall pass" kind of thought.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that has helped me in life so much. Just like, you know, when you're in a hard situation,
yeah,
this too shall pass. Or now I've started, and I don't think I got this specific example from somewhere, or maybe I subconsciously did, but just thinking it's like, will I care about this in 10 years?
Yeah.
And if it's no, then I'm like, screw it. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, because I'm like, it's so easy in the present moment to feel like something's a big deal, but if you put in perspective, it's
life is so short, man. Like I was doing a radio interview on 4680Q, the new online radio station, and it's just like going back to St. Mike's, and someone said like something along the lines of where do you see yourself in 10 years? In 10 years, I was 14. Like 10 years ago, I was 14 years old. You know what I mean? It's like, did I think I'd be doing any of this stuff at 24? If you would have asked me that, I would have said no, for sure.
Perfect,
Yeah.
man. And for me, for example, with the YouTube stuff,
Yeah.
like at 14, no way. Well, I started that before I knew you can make money off of it. You know what I mean? I just started making videos for fun. It was actually in high school too. But I gotta say, I didn't take it as seriously as you did in high school.
Yeah.
Like, you committed. I respect that.
Yeah, thanks,
Like,
man.
that work ethic is actually insane.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help you a lot, like, carry on in life. And that's a transferable skill.
Yeah.
But yeah, with me, like, I kind of started and then it just ended up working on it every so often. Then my brother was like, hey, let's try to be more consistent with it. And then we did. And then, you know, it popped off. Luckily, it's doing well right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
great.
like, it did not at all. I did not think at 14 I'm going to be a YouTuber. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you can make money off of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But yeah, I completely understand the evolution thing and how you just evolved into it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same story with me.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. And it's so great talking to people like yourselves where it's like, even though we're kind of in different industries, but we're still, it's almost like your brain and your wavelengths are on the same.
It's the same journey.
Same thing.
You know what I
man.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like the artist's journey rather than like the hero's journey.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
you go through the similar things. Like we briefly mentioned, I think before we actually started the podcast, about like, you know, people criticizing you, you know, let's say putting you down for trying to do stuff that's outside the box.
Yeah.
Like we definitely experienced that while we were like with the YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah, so did I. Some of my close friends, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, go into it, go talk about that, and how you, what kind of thoughts or just what kept you going, even in the face of that stuff.
One big motivating thing with me is I wanted to put a chip on my shoulder and prove everyone wrong. That was a big motivating
Man,
thing for
I
me.
love it. It works.
It does.
Like, it doesn't
does.
seem like the highest vibration.
No,
kind of,
I know. It
you know,
definitely
but
does.
like it works.
It does. And that feeling is kind of like, I don't really have that too much now. I do a little bit. I definitely did in when I first started, because I literally committed. It's like, okay, I'm on my own. It's up to me whether or not I'm gonna like eat or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a real like challenge to say, okay, you know what, you're gonna do this, and it's like you gotta commit. And I remember when I first started, my parents were very supportive.
Excellent. That's
because
important.
which was great. My parents were very supportive. When it came to like say, you know, guys, I'm going to start my own business, and they're just like, okay, yeah, we know, we feel confident in you, and we're like, we have your back. So that was a big thing. Some close friends, they didn't really know like how I was gonna like, oh, you run social media or you put on events. It's like, how do you make, and you own it, like your agency, how do you make money doing that? I think it's because they didn't understand it, where they're just like you don't do anything, and it's like, no, it's like, I do a lot of things. Just because you're just ignorant to my industry doesn't mean you don't get it. And then it's like, and I just use that, honestly, I just use it all for motivation, just to bring it back to me. And like you said, it's not the most highest vibration when it comes to stuff like that. But prime example, man, one of my best friends. Do you guys know him? He went to high school with us, Dan Zabo.
Sounds
Right,
familiar, yeah.
Yeah, so he's my age, Chippewa kid. And he started music production, like strictly just producing, and like probably about like grade 11, grade 12 of high school, and he was not good. He was not good at all. But I told him, I said, man, like, you know what, just keep going, just keep doing it, like, because I was doing the same thing with my band, man. I'm just like, you know, man, if the song's not there, just keep doing it. I just said it's all about the long-term game. It's all about the long-term game. If you're going to be happy doing this in 7 years from now, just keep doing it. If you're going to be happy doing this in 5 years from now, keep doing it, you know? And 7 years later, he just found out that he has over like 100,000 streams plus on Spotify, and he's gonna be doing his first headlining tour in China.
Amazing.
You know, and I'm like, brother, this is what it's all about, man. He's like, man, he called me, he's like, man, you know, I just want to say, he's like, you were the first homie that ever believed in me, and he's like, I fucking love you, dude. Amazing. And I'm like, man, I love you too. Like, it's just like, it was just such a great moment, and it's like one of those things where all the bullshit that kind of comes with like that development, and you know, some of your close friends not really believing in you, it just makes you want to work hard. And then it's like, oh, now it's like you're kind of up here. It's like, now people care, you know? Or it's like not even like you're up here, it's like you're actually doing stuff of credibility, and things are actually working in your favor, and things start to happen for you. And then that's when people want to hop on the bandwagon. They don't want to, when the going gets tough and it's like, you know, you're risking thousands of dollars to record. Man, if I could tell you how much money I invested into previous projects with music, I could have paid off OSAP fucking like 5 times over by now. You know what I mean? But do I regret any of it? Absolutely not, because I wouldn't be right here where I am today. You know?
That's good, man. Yeah, and I feel like, again, using whatever motivation you can at the point in your life you're at is important.
Yeah.
Because like you're not always feeling like, you know, like love is the only answer, you know what I mean? Sometimes, I remember I don't know if you know, but I did my undergrad in English.
Yeah.
And then my master's in English.
Yeah.
And in grade 9, literally there was like a teacher who didn't believe in me really, and wanted me to kind of move down to applied English, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna prove her wrong. And then I ended up getting a master's in English.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of like that motivation too.
That's
like,
great,
and it worked.
It does,
and then eventually it'll transform into something else.
Absolutely.
But work with what you have at the beginning.
Absolutely, right? That's a great point, man. It's even what it's like. You know, say if you're like, when you're in a relationship, it's like, wow, it's like, you know, you want to work so hard because you would just want to give something to that person. Or you're right. Motivation comes in very situational circumstances. Exactly. I find, and it's something that's always changing, and it really happens with like what's happening currently in your environment. I feel like, that's definitely one thing that just kind of keeps me super motivated all the time. One thing that keeps me super motivated all the time is like I don't want to look back at my life and be like, wow, you know what, I probably should have tried a bit harder. It's like, you know, knowing when to balance it is one thing, but you know, you want to
that's that Gary Vee there.
Knowing when to balance it, but also it's like I don't want to look back when I'm 90 and be like, yo man, I should have tried harder to do this. It's like I want to just be like, yo, I did it, and hey, you know what, cheers, it was cool. You know, we had a good time.
Exactly. You didn't leave it on the table.
Exactly.
You actually did what you could. And exactly, there are moments. Sometimes, you know, you need that rest. And then sometimes you need to go hard.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of rest and going hard,
Ryan Racine.
So, quick question, because we had I think this was our second episode, we talked about daily habits, routines. So, I mean, yourself, you're obviously a really busy person. Do you tend to stick to a daily routine that follows the same way? How does it like a typical day work? Is it different every day? Is it similar?
So usually I try to do the same 2 things every single day. I usually try to wake up before 8:30 every single day. I try 3 things actually. I try to get my biggest task done, the biggest thing that I need to get done by the end, like for the day. I try and get it done by 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning. Perfect. That way it's like, woo, I feel accomplished. It's like, you know, maybe it's around lunchtime. I feel like I got something good. Then the rest is kind of whatever I have to work on at the time. So essentially what my day looks like is I usually wake up around anywhere between 8 to 8:30, if not earlier. Usually in my office around like 9ish or so. And then I work, get my bigger tasks done, take a lunch break probably around like 11 or 12, and then I usually schedule my meetings more so in the afternoon. Like if I have to go meet someone for a coffee or at their office or, you know, at the hotel or whatever it may be, I try to plan everything kind of in the afternoon, and then come around 4:30, 5 o'clock, I usually like to go for a run just to kind of like unleash my mind, just kind of say, okay, you know, this time right now is for me. I'm good. It's like I can chill, and then at night I usually work on whatever creative passion project that I kind of have going on.
That's
so
a
it's
busy day.
Yeah, man. It's just kind of like, and the thing is, it's like it sounds busy, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like work right now. You know, it's kind of like, okay, I'm doing my business, like my marketing and my agency stuff for social media clients, different events that I'm working on. I'm getting that done kind of like in between like 8 to 4, even 8 to 3, sometimes 9 to 2. You know, and I'll kind of I'll kind of juggle it. And if I feel like I didn't work enough, or if I feel like I'm lacking, I'll prep during the weekend. One thing that I like to do at the end of every day and right before I go to sleep, not usually right before I go to sleep, but at the end of every day, usually after my run, is I'll revisit all the tasks that I did, and I'll make a task list for myself every single day. So that way when I go through my list, it's like, okay, I still need to do this, I'll check it off. And that when I hit that check mark on my notes in my iPhone, it's just like, okay, I feel good now. It's like I got a bunch of stuff done today.
Perfect. Yeah, like I'm shocked at just like the similarities there with I'm sure Ryan does it too, but yeah, with me, like I also try to wake up early. We do the run first rather than later on in the day.
I was gonna say, I think I've seen you at World running in the early morning.
Yeah. 4:30 a.m. we're waking up and we're trying to get there by 5. But yeah, I heard again. I'm sure you've been like you've read or heard these ideas that waking up early, one of the keys to success. Doing the most important thing first. Being the key to success. So me too. Like I like that 12. Like because you feel amazing when you finish like a big thing. Before 12. Like some people are waking up at 12.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And I agree. And then I try to do like some less important, less difficult things, whatever, later on. And then sometimes I'll read or something. Do a hobby in the evening. But I respect you for being able to just after a full day jump into creative work. Because for me, like I'd rather just like do some off time stuff like read or something, which in some way feeds into it. But it's not like an active. I try to do the active stuff like earlier on in the day. But that's impressive, man.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. And that's usually like after like 6 or 7 o'clock. That's usually like I'll go into the studio and work with an artist like playing drums, or I'll be playing a gig. Like summertime's a busy time for me. I got over 40 gigs booked, so it's pretty much just like I'll be gigging or playing like a mini tour with like this band or this artist or whatever. And then I'm actually managing an artist right now too. I incorporated that through the management aspect of my business, and just because I did that with all my bands that I was in, and it's going really well right now. Her name's Christy Palace, born and raised from Windsor, relocated to Toronto. We just the same conversation we're having right now is the same conversation we had, and that's why I wanted to work with her. And she's talented, great voice, amazing stage presence, amazing energy, and that's why I think something will happen for her. And above all, she's just super talented. But yeah, man, that's kind of what I do. And the creative work, I'll usually try and end it maybe around like 9 or 10, 11 if I'm gigging like late, and then just kind of like unwind, maybe like watch a movie or just kind of like chill out. The thing is, I have, not that I have a sleeping problem, but sometimes I don't know what time do you usually go to bed at?
Ideally, just because we wake up at 4:30 a.m. I'd like to go to bed at like 9:30, but usually I find myself going 10:30, like best case scenario, and then usually afterwards, like 11:30, something like that. I usually go to bed like usually around, like lately it's been like 1 o'clock. I don't know why, and then it's like, but the thing is, like when you sleep 1 to 8, it's like 7 hours. You know what I mean? Or 1 to 8:30. So I feel like if my brain is just like, I'm like very much a night owl, and I love coffee, and I think that's why I'm energized all throughout the day. I love coffee too, man.
You know what I mean, man? So it's just like, it's good, man. I feel like the more there's actually, I recently revisited this quote, and it just struck me, and I think maybe it will stick with you guys. It was from Denzel Washington, and the quote was, "Just because you're doing more doesn't mean you're getting a lot done." And I was like, whoa, I need to apply that to like my life. And that's when like the scheduling comes in, and like making sure what your top priority is. Because for me, I also feel like that sometimes, like with Instagram, with messages, with like emails, like it's easy to get swamped with that stuff, and then you don't end up like, let's say for me, working on that script or working on that video, that's like the most important thing for the business. Right. So, and you can't answer, like at a certain point, you can't answer all the messages. And then when you answer them, you get more messages from the same people. So at a certain point, you gotta prioritize that and then fit as many as you can in later on. Absolutely. And that's the thing, man, like you can delegate that to someone too.
I mean, you don't necessarily, as long as they know, I guess, because I also feel a way about kind of letting them think it's me when it's not me.
Sure.
But for sure, and that's the delegation is my like next, I think, business step. We have with the YouTube, we have some editors that we get to edit some of the videos and stuff like that, and we have a pro manga artist that kind of does some designs for us, and we do delegate some stuff, but definitely I'd say we need more delegation in the Anime Uproar business.
Yeah, because man, that's the thing. You're delegate what you don't need to focus on. You know, like that whole concept in the 4-hour work week deal. Delegate, eliminate, automate, and liberate. Those are the 4 things. So yeah, man, you guys will just keep crushing it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Like, again, like I said, like just like you, like 10 years ago, you know, I wouldn't have thought this was even a job, let alone now I'm able to actually finance like my life with it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and it feels
I want to do it as long as possible.
Yeah, that's it, man. I want to do it as long as possible too, man. And I think that's I put in a lot of with the first couple clients I got with my business. It's like I made sure like I took really, really good care of them, because at the end of the day, it's like they're the one that's allowing me to live a life that is free, you know? Man, it's like I really don't have, if I didn't, I go to Toronto quite a bit. So it's like, okay, if I have to take a 30-minute walk, it's like, great. I'll throw my headphones on, kind of block out the noise, and answer all the emails and everything all at once. And, you know, post this and post that and respond to comments and do a little extra thing on my phone. It's like, okay, now I'm putting in the extra work, like that little icing on the cake. That's like, I can do that now, instead of just like, whereas if I had a boss or if I had something like that, I'd be confined and like stuck, you know, doing that, you know, which is, I don't want to do that. So that's why, I'm very thankful for the life that I've had in this last like year and a bit, because I've been a business owner now for just over a year.
Okay, and like I feel like one of the things is it's not even, it is the time, right, that you spend on like other jobs that can get in the way of doing creative stuff, but it's also you feel drained, you know what I mean? Like
yes, you do.
You commute somewhere, you work like probably 8 hours, you come back, you know, you probably need some social life. Yes. And then by the time like you get around to working on your thing, it's much harder. It's
you're just like, ugh.
Such a blessing that like right now, you know, we're in a situation where we can actually do this and not have to get that part-time job or whatever. But again, even when you do have a part-time job or whatever, like, you know, you don't always need to spend as much. I feel like people think they need to spend more than they actually do. You know, I think the true-bred entrepreneur is always willing to live off of less and like a less materialistic life.
Yes.
If they love what they do. You know?
So true.
Exactly.
It's so true. It's like I'll just get by with like whatever it is,
like
just
instant noodles.
Yeah, literally, man. It's like just get by with what you can, because if you can do whatever you want, it's like, what more can you ask for?
Exactly.
You know, that's the best thing to look at it. I just want to be able to do whatever I want with the people I love. That's my long-term goal.
Exactly.
That's it, man. That's
freedom,
it.
man. And I define that as freedom. That's
yeah.
always been what I'm working for. Like, that's why I'm trying to make money. That's why I'm trying to, like, do, you know, I want that freedom, and I also want to help people along the way, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to give and then receive as well.
Absolutely, man. That's exactly what I want to do too. Yeah.
Awesome. I was really curious about the mentorship.
Yeah.
You mentioned mentor, and whenever, for me, that's like something I hear from YouTube, like Ty Lopez, from like people, and it's like, I'm sure I've definitely had mentors, but I've never kind of like viewed it as that way, been conscious of it that way.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, first of all, how do you go out and find mentors for people who are wondering? Because I think it's one of the biggest hacks and shortcuts to getting ahead in life.
Absolutely.
And after,
so true.
Yeah, and after how to find them, what are the most important things you've learned from your mentor?
Wow, that is a great question.
We got all night, bro.
Yeah, that is a really, really great question. My first mentor, his name's Mark Lee, and he managed Nelly Furtado for a couple of years. Worked very high up in artist management in Toronto for Chris Smith management, and then branched off and did his own thing. And he is just, the way he views freedom and knowing how to make money and how to leverage ideas and leverage contacts just to be able to wake up and do whatever you want, whatever you want, is incredible. And he's the one who told me about the 4-hour work week. And the thing is, man, with having him is kind of like when I was like doing music, playing in original bands, like touring like 24/7. Now this past year, like I would say probably since like October, has been when I've just been like 24/7 real on the business. Where music is like, I'm still doing music stuff. Like I still like played a show in Windsor, and I play locally all the time and in Toronto, but nothing like where it's been like super active. It's mostly business stuff. But with him, we connected so well because he's an artist manager. So he sees things in such a music business way, where I saw things as like mostly like music, but he just opened my brain to a whole other perspective. And having someone who has that many years of experience on you that you can just get along with, I just asked him every question that I was curious about music, about life, about how did you turn it into a business? What did you do? And took all the things that he succeeded at and just applied it, as opposed to, he tried this and it didn't work. He literally said, he's like, I'm going to save you so much time because you're going to learn exactly what to do and what not to do. Obviously, depending on the situation, but just from his experience, unbelievable, man. Like, and I'm so thankful to have him in my life, and it was amazing. The past one, my mentor that I have now is Chris Dabrowski, and he has helped me enormously when it comes to because we do similar things. Like, he's marketing genius, like does 1,000,001 things too, and like people know him like he runs Comic-Con, him and his partner James, and James is also another amazing individual as well. I've learned a lot from him, and just seeing how they kind of work together is really fascinating. And when he was kind of explaining to me, like, this is what I did to grow this idea, and this is what it is now, it's like, holy. And he's like he's like, I tried all these things, this didn't work. I did this did work. So it's kind of, I find it so valuable to learn from someone who you aspire to be like, and who, or even if you want to have a lifestyle that they have. Mark has that lifestyle where he owns a house in Niagara, a place in Toronto, a great car, has amazing friends, and can kind of go back and forth and do as he please. I'm like, I want that mobile lifestyle. I'm like, I don't know if I could just be in Niagara Falls. Don't get me wrong, I travel quite a bit for different things. But I love the idea of just like, I would want to work in Niagara for 2 months, but for these 3 months I'll be in Toronto, and then these 4 months I'll be in LA, and then I'll come back to Niagara, or maybe it's a week, or I love changing my environment, and that's what I'd love to have. And I think the lessons that I've learned from Chris and the lessons that I've learned from Mark, I've kind of just applied it to myself, and I'm still growing and figuring out what that lifestyle is for me. Right now I know it's mobile, I know it's in business, I know it's in some sort of entertainment, but I don't know what the actual thing, like, I don't know if I know what that end goal is. And I feel like that's okay right now, because it's okay. And what's fascinating is I recently just did an event with a psychic here in the area. Have you guys ever heard of Lynn Nichols?
I have, yeah.
You have? Ryan, tell us your experience with Lynn Nichols.
I know she's got quite a following.
She does. Yeah. She absolutely does. So do you, like, have you had an experience with her at all, or? No,
just from people who have gone to her. They've said positive things.
Yeah. So. Yeah, man. So make a long story short about Lynn is my mom has been following her for like forever, and my mom was like, Matt, you gotta do an event with her, like bring her into like to read like a room of people. I'm just like, okay, Mom, like, bro, I'm like, I love you, but you ain't in the business world. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you're great. I'm like, you support me, that's awesome. And so I kind of like dismissed it, and then she tagged me in like one of Lynn's posts on Facebook, and I looked at her engagement, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Her engagement is insane. She's got about 3,000 likes on like her fan page or her artist page or whatever. And she's a psychic and a medium. And whenever I was looking through some of her live videos, she was getting like 1,000 comments on a live video over crazy over like 1,500 views. I'm like, this conversion rate of people who like the page as opposed to people who are engaging is insane. I'm like, these are the best numbers I've seen on a page like this, and I'm like, I need to meet with her. Make a long story short, we met. I said I have my own events and marketing company. I said I have a great relationship at the Fallsview Group Hotel. I said the Fallsview Group Hotel company. I said, well, let's try an event. Maybe we'll do it at the 4 Points. And let's see what happens. And she did a group reading where she was brought up onto the stage in the grand ballroom at the Four Points, and she read the crowd. She read different people in the crowd, and past loved ones came in through from the other side, and she delivered messages to people, and it was very fascinating. And the thing is about her, she's not like hokey pokey, like, oh my god, this spirit, blah, 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 is coming in. It's like,
she's not like Sylvia Brown.
No, she's very like blunt, honest, no bullshit, and I'm like, that's what I like about her. And it was she was super, super fascinating. And we sold just over 170 tickets to the event, so it was a packed house. It felt great, and the energy was great. And it's like, wow, I just did an event with a psychic. It's like, I never thought I would do an event with a psychic ever in my entire life. But we're on just like this. We're on the same wavelength, and I just said, let's do something together. Let's create something together and see what happens. And we did, and it ended up being a very beautiful thing.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think like you'll find that when you're on this path, like you even said, you don't know exactly where you're going, but you're like going the right direction, a direction that feels right now. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how things tend to like show up that you wouldn't have expected while you're on that path.
Absolutely, man. So
true. And the more stories I hear, the more examples I get of that. Like I think it was in The Alchemist, they said like once you decide to do something, like the universe kind of bends to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating. It's like you decide to do something. Oh, an opportunity you never would have expected working with a psychic for you, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out well. So that's awesome. And I think everyone listening should take that as like, a sign that it does happen once you commit. Like you can actually, even if you don't know how you're going to get there, if you're like, I'm going to get there, things show up.
Absolutely, man. And this next story blew me. It was one of those exact same moments too, where my friend tagged me in a Facebook status from a producer and said, looking for a drummer to record an album overseas. And my buddy tagged me. Actually, I had two friends tag me. And I was like, okay, overseas. I'm like, yeah, my attention. So I messaged the producer right away. I said, hey, this is me, so-and-so. This is what I've done. Like, would love to know more details. We got on a conference call, and he still didn't. He said he couldn't tell me the location of the studio where it was being recorded. I said, okay, no problem. And they just said, you have to come for kind of like a blind audition. You're not going to know any of the songs. You're not going to know anything. You just need to show up and play, and we're going to see if we like you. I'm like, okay, so there was a videography company there to film me. There was the producer there. There was a couple other crew members, and then there was the band. I'm like, okay, this must be serious in some way. And make a long story short, I was the last drummer to audition on the day for the gig. And the opportunity ended up being to record over in Abbey Road Studios over in England. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Abbey Road, oh my god, arguably the most famous studio in the entire world. And I'm like, that's an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And talking about putting things out into the universe,
yeah.
When I practiced every single day in high school, the only poster that was on my wall was the Abbey Road album cover.
Awesome.
In my basement. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, was that just like unrecognized manifestation as to what is happening in the universe? Like I never expected to record in Abbey Road Studios, and we worked with one of the guys who worked with Paul McCartney, Kanye West, Ed Sheeran, wow. And I'm just like, I am shitting my pants. And it was one of the most amazing experiences in my entire life. And I remember I sat behind the drum set, and I'm just like, I look up and I'm like, how did I get here? It was one of those like most surreal moments of my entire life, and that happened 2 years ago. So I was 22 when that happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Like you get used to some crazy like experiences.
Yeah.
Right? Like at first it's like crazy, and then you start to get used to it. But like you never thought it would get like that.
Never.
You're always like, man, if I experience this, I'll be a changed person.
Yeah.
Like everything will be different. And you're like, oh, I feel the same.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's go for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. I'm just trying to always do the next thing. I just want to do cool stuff, and that's it, man. That's all I want to do at the end of the day. Do stuff that makes an impact, makes a difference, and makes people feel like, wow, you know what? That made me feel something.
Yes.
That's it.
And even doing that, you're like indirectly inspiring people to like follow their thing too, and like,
yeah,
giving them permission in a sense to actually do it. I think that is what it is when you're like, when people see examples, especially from the neighborhood, right? Like,
yeah, literally.
We both went to the same high school.
Yep.
We're in the same city. It's not like looking at people, let's say, on social media doing great.
Yeah.
Or even like running their own business, being able to have that freedom.
Yeah.
It's people like you saw in the hallways.
Literally.
So I think that really like makes it click for people that yeah, it's possible.
It's very possible. It's not just talked about. Like that's such a deemed to be unrealistic thing that you can never have a life of freedom or actually doing something that you like to do. Of course, not every day you're not going to wake up and be like, oh my God, I love everything about today, you know?
For sure.
You always have to do shit that you don't like to do. Of course, that's just part of like life, you know? But for the most part, it's like that stuff really is possible. It's just how do you open your brain to see it? Your mind is the most powerful thing, man, when it comes to anything on Earth. I strongly believe that it's how you perceive things, what you perceive determines your actions, determines your opportunities, what comes your way. That's it.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like the crazy thing it's able to adapt to situations where you're like, I could never do that. You're in that situation, you find a way to do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because either you trust it, and also like I feel like humans can adapt really well.
Absolutely.
And I've seen that many times. I also wanted to ask with university. So we talked about it briefly. So what do you think overall? You talked about, OSAP, that's like student loans. What's your view on it? Let's say another person wants to be, an entrepreneur, a young person, and they're asking for advice. Should they go to university? Did business school, was it worth it? Is it the only path? Let us know.
For sure. Well, thanks, Ryan, for letting me speak in your class about entrepreneurship. And I'm like, Ryan, can I advise these kids not to go to school?
Yeah. Over the summer, I had I was teaching what's called a politics class / career guidance class, where students in high school, young students like grade 10, explore different avenues that they may want to pursue in the future. I mean, I'm kind of very ambivalent towards the, I don't know what the word is, impact of the course on kids. I don't know how effective it is at that stage.
Ooh,
but
that's interesting.
But it's like there is some, I think, productive components of it. But anyways, I had Matt come in, and he was talking to a bunch of grade 10s, and at the end he was kind of saying, he didn't allude to it, but a lot of these kids growing up now think that the only path to success, whatever success means, is to get a degree, specifically from university, and then find some high-paying six-figure salary right off the bat, which obviously never happens even if you go the conventional path. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he said, he really wanted to emphasize that, post-secondary education is not the only path there is.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know how to, I guess, phrase it to them without kind of shattering their bubble.
By the way, man, you're speaking about in a school per setting, really push school. It's no, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's I'm interested in that question too. Like, what sort of, you've obviously given a lot of advice in this podcast. Yeah, what would you give to either the person who wants to start a business, even circumstances? What if a person finished university with loans and they don't want to go the conventional path? Like, that's even a tougher situation, because now you're bundled down with these debts that you have to pay. And I see a lot of students go through this, and it's really tough because they want to pursue something very unconventional, and they feel that they can't do it. So just general advice, I guess, to those who want to pursue something a little bit different.
Man, that is such a great question, and there's two immediate thoughts that come to my brain. Is when I had to pay for university, majority of it for myself. I got like that partial $1,000 scholarship for because I had like decent marks in from St. Mike's going into Brock, but I had to pay all my OSAP. So my OSAP, it was about six. It ended up being about $5,000 or $6,000 a year to go to school. I remember I paid off the first year or whatever, and my OSAP was about 16. I was everything all said and done was 16 grand. It was in debt,
and that's not even that bad.
Which is amazing. There's students who pay 16 grand a year.
Yes. I know someone $30K, and it gets bigger.
Yes, exactly. And that's when I still lived at home and I went to Brock. You know what I mean? Like, still being in the area still. Two things that come to mind with that is debt is only a way of how there's this great quote, I forget who said it, but there's two ways to react to or approach a situation. It was, you can either be reactive and let the situation control you, or you can be proactive and take control of the situation. So I looked at it as if, okay, I just graduated from university. I'm about $16K in debt, plus some credit card, whatever, you party. It is what it is. And so I'm just kind of like, okay. And 2 years after that, I got the job working at the hotel. I obviously learned a lot about, marketing through hotel properties on a big corporate scale. But when I took the risk, I'm like, wow, I still have quite a bit of debt. I'm like, what am I going to do that's going to make me happy? And then what's my goal financially to do it? So my goal for this year is to be completely debt free. That is my goal financially. Nice. And I think it's good to have long-term goals. And I said that for myself right at the beginning of 2019. I'm like, 2019 is going to be the year where I'm debt free, and I'm going to start at zero, and I'm going to work my way up from there.
Exactly.
That's what I'm going to do. So I guess my advice would be and also side note, my experience in university, I can describe it in one word I would say it was very draining, in a sense where I was in a band that was signed at the time, and I was doing music stuff or commuting to Hamilton, Toronto about 2 to 3 times a week while being a full-time student and working 2 part-time jobs. And I feel like almost when you're a student, it's harder. Like I look at being a student, I'm like, wow, how did I do that? Now it seems like, okay, it's like, this is way better,
doable.
It's way doable. Yeah. But man, when you're a student, it's like, okay, you want to have a social life, but you also need to get good marks to pass. And it's like, you also need to have enough money so you can like live, or so you can go out with your friends or have some sort of experience, but you're also your passions on the side. Like, what do you really want to do? It's like, even just saying all that stresses me out, it's like, how do you expect someone to graduate with that mindset? That's why it's so, going back to the mentorship program or the mentorship thing. It's like, if you have a person or an older person who has experience and they believe in you and you just graduated high school, don't go to university. Just learn from them, study from them, analyze the crap out of them, ask as many questions, and meet as many people as you can through and with them. That's what I would say.
And treat that as your school.
And treat that as if you would still be going to school. Yeah.
And you're paying for it.
And you're paying for it. Exactly. And absolutely, man, you gotta. That's one thing I realized. It's like I was always told when you were young, it's like you gotta pay your dues. You gotta pay your dues. You gotta respect your elders. That's one thing that you have to really learn when you go through university. And knowing that, doing a lot of free stuff kind of sucks, but if it's going to lead to something, or if it doesn't lead to something, at least you have that experience.
And that's underrated, man.
And experience in anything in the business world is the most important thing. Whatever dude so I graduated in business comm. Okay, so when I was in university, it's like I did all this stuff with bands, labels, blah, blah, whatever. I also had the not-for-profit with Lucas, the Don't Say Cancer initiative, raising money for different families, doing on different events. If we both graduated and we had both had that same piece of paper, say I graduated with a 67 or 68 GPA or whatever percent, that's what I graduated. So I didn't quite get honors, whatever. Mm-hmm. Kind of, it is what it is. But so say if someone with honors and someone with honors, but you look at their experience, oh, this person just has this, but they have their honors degree, but you go to someone, or if you went to someone like me who did this but has all this experience or has done all this stuff in the community, who are you going to hire first? And what energy do they give off the best? Are they personable? That's what you capitalize on. You capitalize on your strengths. So that's one thing that I really learned. It's like, yeah, going to school and getting that piece of paper is great, but everyone's going to do that. What's going to make you different? That's exactly what I did in the magic video. No one else is going to pull some crazy magic shit or anything like that, and it worked, and you'll know what's going to work for you when you know what it is that you like to do, or certain things that you like to do. I feel anyway. So yeah, I would say get a mentor or someone that really believes in you. And if you don't know someone, go to community initiatives that community oriented facilities or organizations like the Small Business Enterprise Center. They're a very, very helpful organization. They helped me a lot in my business development when it came to no one teaches how to register for income tax or budgeting.
I know that's crazy.
It's like all these super important things that I'm learning or have been learning for the last year and a half. I was never taught in school.
In school, no.
And it's like everyone has to do that, and it's like it's so important. And
especially when you run a business, right? That's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, and I suck at finances. I suck at all that stuff. The way I look at it, it's like, okay, I just need to focus on doing a lot more cool things to make more money, so that's gone away. That's how I think. I'm like, because That's what's natural to me. Someone's like, okay, well, if we budget this, we do this accordingly, and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, that's great. You know, like that's not for me. So I need to figure that out. But no, I'd rather give that to someone and say, hey, you know what, this is what I have to do. And then for that, sorry, random tangent, but going to that, I don't know necessarily for business, like for school, everyone's going to get the piece of paper. It's what's going to make you different and what's going to make you stand out from everyone. That'd be like, yeah, I'll hire you out of everyone that just graduated from Harvard or everyone that just graduated from Brock or Western or whatever. I really don't think it fucking matters.
Yeah. I agree with that. And it depends what you want to do. Obviously, some stuff you need a university diploma, but for stuff like business, what's the best way to learn a business or learn how to be a businessman? To start a business, to fail in the real world, not to be in a bubble and to kind of like, you know. Although, again, it's a great place to find mentors. Yeah. But it's definitely not necessary to be a businessman. And I know some people who have gone to school and they're like, kind of just wish I started that business right away. I would have been like kind of further along the line. So yeah, I definitely agree that there are always going to be benefits, I think, to university, but you don't need to think that you need it in order to succeed, especially with something like business.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, man. Yeah. And the thing is, one thing that really, really motivated me, and I think a lot of local people in this area really overlooked was, and I'm not too sure if you guys heard this too, but like, oh, I'm going to Brock, I'm not going to meet anyone new. Are you kidding me? Like, did you guys not hear that from your friends? You're going to Brock, you're not going to meet anyone new. I didn't hear that. Okay. Well, maybe it's just me.
I get why maybe some people would think that, but yeah, it's crazy how many people come to Brock. Your social circle in high school, you don't even meet everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you know
let alone in Brock.
Yeah. Yeah, like I didn't really know who, like we knew who each other were. I think in high school we weren't, like we didn't talk like this,
like
obviously.
And this is interesting because like we met when you were, I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe like 2, 3, and then like we really talked, you know, then, and that was like when for the YouTube channel we had we were doing Pokemon Go videos, had maybe 1,000 subscribers. And you weren't obviously a year and a half or whatever you said down in the journey of like being the thing. And you were doing other cool stuff. But yeah, like we've both come a very long way since then. And it kind of goes to show that this is relatively new to both of us.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not like we started in a place that was like advantageous in like certain ways, but like nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah. And out of that, we managed to actually like build something, which is cool.
Absolutely, man. You're completely right. You're 100% right. Yeah. And I can't, going back to that stigma at Brock, it's like, you're not going to meet anyone new. It's like, you're in a program where you probably don't know anyone. Maybe 2 people, maybe 1 person from like...
Yeah, maybe Ryan for me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Were you guys in the same program?
We were, yeah.
Oh, no way.
There was just, I think besides us, just 1 other person from our high school who was in the same program. So 3 people that we knew. Yeah. Going into it.
That's
And
it's such an opportunity. You can meet everyone, like whatever it is that you want to do. And one thing that has always stuck with me, and it's a quote that I'll always keep with my business at the end of the day, it's like, your network is your net worth. That's always one thing. The more people you know, the more things you have access to, the more potential it is for you to make money or to make relationships in any shape or way possible. That's why I feel very, very, very grateful that I've been able to do a lot of different diverse things. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually part own and helped put on that 420 Expo that just happened on at the Scotiabank Convention Center. So that was my first like large scale convention center event. We had just over 3,000 people come out. I find the marijuana and the cannabis industry very fascinating, although I don't know too much about the actual product itself. However, I feel like the industry is very interesting. Working with that, working with Comic-Con, working with different celebrity events that happen at some of the hotels in the area, and then doing different community charity events. It's like, I like my life because I always get to do something different, and that makes me happy. You know, like how when you do your videos, like, and you put it out, it's like that makes you happy. That's what makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly. Know yourself.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Because you don't have to, like, to people listening, you don't have to hear this and think you have to do something different every day, but know if you like to, because there are some, like, a lot of famous writers. Almost like it's clockwork, like their schedule, their routine. They get creative through their writing, but then their life is pretty scheduled.
Yeah.
With like the same stuff every day and some change there here and there. But yeah, if you know you love change, you love getting out there, you know, I believe that you need to just figure out what you like, try different stuff.
Yep.
And then double down on it, and that's what you've been doing.
Yeah,
so
you too, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really an interesting thing, man. And I feel like being after like I looked back on my first year of business. I'm like, oh, I did a lot of different things, but I'm happy I did because I'm still learning what my business is really like what that thing in my business is like. Chris, for example. My mentor, when he's like he was known as like Comic-Con. That was his thing, you know. He did Comic-Con, he built up Comic-Con, and now he can kind of like he can afford to like, if you really want to delegate a bunch of different things, so that now he can focus on what's the next thing, you know. I just want to, and that's what I want to do. It's like I want to build, create, and develop, and then do something else that's cool, and then just say, hey, you know, let's just do stuff. I just want to do really, really fun, exciting, and creative things, and just be happy. That's it, man. And you can't really and in the 4-Hour Workweek, it talks about the concept of the new rich, where it's like, would you rather be happy making, you know, anywhere between 40 to 60 grand a year, waking up and doing something that you completely love, or would you rather be happy working a 6-figure job, answering to someone, and not really being that happy with yourself? Which one would you take? You know?
Yes. And for me, it would be the first one.
Yeah.
But the irony, like the paradox of our modern times with the internet is,
you can exceed
funnily
that.
enough, like I feel like you can go for the job. You think, oh, I'll do this. I might not get as much money. And then with the internet and like the scale, you could easily end up making much more than like a safe, quote unquote, safe career.
Absolutely, man.
So it's paradoxical. Like, yeah, you got to be ready for it because you never know what can happen. But at the same time, things will surprise you, and you could find yourself like, oh man, this is way more than I expected.
Absolutely. And man, that's what I did when I looked back at my first. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I did this. I'm like, you know, not to talk about money too much, but I was like, wow. I felt like, oh my gosh, like I really, then I was like, wow, I can do this, you know? And it was, unbelievable, man. Yeah. So really, really, really cool.
I like your emphasis on action, right? We did like a book club last week from talking about Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, where he talks about not over identifying with your job title, but just focusing more on putting in the action, doing the work.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're just in love with just doing these tasks.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
It's like you're not going around saying, oh, I'm this person, right? You can't even really identify who you are.
No,
I
know.
You're just in love with just doing these things.
Yeah,
right?
that's
what keeps you going.
Yeah,
like,
it's the process.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like someone said this, like, it's like, Matt, it's like you're like the man behind the curtain, you know? So like no one really knows kind of like what you do, but you're just doing things.
That's what I make sure. Like the first question was, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and like when it comes to entertainment stuff, I'm very like, you know, hey, it's me, it's Matt Anthony, like the entertainer, the performer. But when it comes to like the business stuff, I've been very conscious of trying not to put my face on things, because I've learned that I just don't want to be perceived as like, oh, when they think of him, and then you get portrayed as like a certain ego on social media. And the thing is, at the end of the day, in Vitco, my company is, I'm very happy with it, but at the same time, it's like, if I can bring in other amazing people to work with me and have it be automated by itself one day, which it has the potential to be, then I can just do that, and then I can just do something else, and then anything that comes after that, that's leverage to go with whatever it is. Same thing with this channel. It's like, you know, you created this crazy anime following of like amazingness on the internet, and then now it's like, okay, now it's like you did that, it's still growing, but now you can move on and do something else that you like to do.
And the thing is, like, you can always keep one foot in the door, but eventually with that, we could grow, we could get some more people who share that passion, who will keep that quality. And maybe I do like a video a week or a video every 2 weeks, and then other people do post videos on that too. That's
Huge.
why with me and my brother on it makes, and it's called AnimeUproar, right? It's not one person. I think it does lend itself to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely a possibility in the future. But yeah, like you want to have kind of potential to do different things, right? And this Project Uproar is something like this podcast that we started, even though, I have my hands full with the channel, but I'm so passionate about like this stuff, self-development, meeting people in the community. Like you said, like you previously said, like how do people not understand that, Brock, you can meet so many new people?
Yeah.
It's what you do. You know what I mean? It depends on you. It's on you.
Yeah.
So you can find opportunity in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
You can find opportunity in Brock.
Yeah.
It's like, are you going to put yourself out there? Are you actually going to work for it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you could go to the best university ever, whatever that is. I don't know how to judge, but like what everyone says is the best if everyone agreed on one thing. And if you don't talk to anyone, you don't make an effort. Yeah, it's gonna be worse than going to Brock and actually talking to people.
Literally,
you know what I mean,
absolutely. That's like, it's like people in the creative industries that even when they graduate from high school from Niagara, they're like, oh my god, you know what? We need to go to Toronto and we need to go to U of T, or we need to go to Ryerson. We need to do this. That's great. Did you meet anyone? Did you go out? Did you seek opportunities? No, because if you have that same mindset and like you said, you do it to someone who goes to Brock or another school. And then that person, compared to that person in Toronto, guarantee that they're going to go farther when it comes to all that kind of stuff. So it's really all depends, like you said, about what you do and how you perceive and what's your action at the end of the day.
Exactly. Because there's a saying like, wherever you go, there you are. Yeah. And it's like, you can't escape yourself. So wherever you go, it's up to you. And I do believe that, I think it was in Seneca, he actually wrote that if anywhere you can make opportunity. You know what I mean? And Jay-Z talks about like being able to wherever you put him, he'll be able to make his millions again. And that idea of wherever you are, find a way to succeed there. It's possible. It's on you. That's self-responsibility rather than as soon as you start putting the responsibility on something else, you're losing power and you'll start to believe your own lies. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then you're kind of just like in this denial, destructive state, and that's bad.
Exactly. That's where the conspiracy theory
literally yeah, man. And like that's a really cool quote from Jay-Z, like no matter where you are, like you'll always make opportunities, and that is so true. Niagara Falls, man, is typically a very small town. Like everyone kind of knows someone who knows someone, and it is what it is. And I find it very far and few in between where it's like you actually can meet people that you can really relate to when it comes to, like, a lot of my really, really close friends are all entrepreneurs just because we click, we agree, like that's it really, and there's not too many like young, like when I mean young, I mean like under 30, like here in the area that are really like trying to like do that kind of stuff, and we just got to stick together, and that's it, man.
Exactly. And with the internet now,
we can do that.
even if you can't find someone, you can find those groups online or maybe meet someone through the internet and stuff like that. There's that possibility to find like-minded people. Yeah. And 100%, like not with some people that aren't in the same mindset, it's hard to even hang around them. You just tend to gravitate towards people who are, let's say if you're positive, if you're making an effort to be open-minded, positive, you'll naturally gravitate to people who are like that too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks. We really appreciate you on, Matt. I guess before we wrap up, like if our listeners want to learn more about yourself,
exactly, any products you got, anything, just plug it now. Yeah.
Plug it.
Yeah, man. No, you can feel free to follow me on Instagram. Very active on Instagram at Matt Anthony with 2 Y's. Anything to do with my business, you can search it up at Invitco, INVITTCO.com, Invitco.com, Invitco across all social media platforms. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we can connect, we can chat, and I'm sure I just love talking to people who are creative and like-minded. So if you're like that, feel free to hit me up.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming again, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And everybody, that's it for today's episode, and we'll see you next time.